Good evening, everyone. I'm not sure if you all were dancing along with me, but I definitely was. It's hard not to when that music is playing. So uh, I'm happy to have been enjoying that, and I hope you enjoyed it too. So we'll go ahead and get started, and we'll see if people join us as we go here. So I just wanted to thank everybody for coming tonight. We are here for our last workshop in our community workshop series, Understanding Disability in Your Home, put on in partnership with the Gateway Association. And if you haven't been, now I'm getting ahead of myself here. If you haven't joined us for our previous sessions, my name is Erin Northey, and I am the Provincial Supports Coordinator with the Children and Family Services Department at the Métis Nation of Alberta. I coordinate our community information sessions and also currently developing and implementing an FASD program within the Children and Family Services Department. I will be helping to guide the session today. And also on the call with us, we have Kate Dawson, our department's communications coordinator, who will be monitoring the chat, and she is logged in under the Métis Nation of Alberta. There we go. I really want to jump ahead tonight. So please note that this event will be recorded to share with those registered but who were not able to attend tonight. And it may also be posted on our website or used in other M&A materials. If you do not wish to be recorded, please turn off your camera and inform us in the chat now, please. So we are really excited to be able to host this event and looking forward to answering your questions. I don't know why I keep doing that. I think it's just the day today, so I apologize for that. But before we get started, we just have a few housekeeping items we would like to go over. You have been muted by default to make sure that everyone can hear the presenter. You may show your video or turn it off as you wish. If you have questions, please type it in the chat, which you will see at the bottom of your Zoom window. If you would like to ask a question out loud, please click the raise hand button and the moderator will reach out to you privately to unmute you. We will have lots of time at the end for questions, and we will do our best to get through as many as possible as our time before our time together is through. We ask that everyone keep their questions respectful. So we recognize that we're talking about a potentially sensitive topic. We want to make sure you know about the resources that are available to you if you feel like you want to talk to someone. Here are a few options for receiving help if you need it. And as always, if you feel like you are currently in danger or in crisis, please call 911 if you are in immediate danger. I'd like to point out here the last point here, our M&A Wellness program. So the wellness program was created as a way for the M&A to support our community with a focus on mental health. The program comes to us through a partnership with Alberta Blue Cross and Homeward Health Incorporated to the Métis citizens with short-term solution-based counseling. Due to the sensitive nature of today's discussion, if you feel like you need extra support, the wellness program is available to you 24/7 all year. Through this program, you can receive 12 hours of free, professional, confidential, and culturally sensitive counseling. If you do need support, please call 1-877-729-0261, and that is the number on the bottom of your screen. When you call, they will ask you for your employer or organization, and you can just let them know that you are with the Métis Nation of Alberta and you should be good to go. For more information about the M&A Wellness Program, you can visit our website at albertamétis.com. All right, Now, I am excited to introduce our presenter for this evening, Katie Suvanto. Katie is the Indigenous Relations and Community Development Manager at the Gateway Association. She has several years of professional and personal experience working within the disability support system in Alberta. Katie has worked with the MNA in the past, and we're excited to have her back again to present for us tonight. Thank you for joining us, Katie, and I'll pass it over to Katie now.
Hey everyone, I want to say thank you. This has been an amazing journey, and through the journey I've gotten some calls, and we're on our way to help our nation with some difficult tasks and some difficult navigating processes. So I'm going to share my screen and hopefully it works, because it's been a day for me, but I am going to welcome you. So thank you. So today we're going to be talking about tough stuff. It's disability in our homes, and it is a sensitive topic. And I just wanted to reiterate that if you're having any questions or whatever, we're always here, no matter what. So we have a lot of solutions, but we need to be, in order to help you, we need you to reach out, and so we can do that together. So in the nature of that, I just wanted to thank you for being here today. As you know, we're located on Treaty 6 territory. I don't like to use the term we're all treaty people, because we're not. We are a bunch of amazing individuals through our nation and through other areas in and around Canada. But we are on territory of Papa Chase in the homeland of the Métis Nation, specifically Region 4. I love seeing who is here. So I do this little thing, but if you're in Region 1, can you raise your hand so I can see? Great, if I can open this. Region 2. Nice. 3, 4, 5, and 6. So the good news is that we help. We're here and we're able to help you no matter where you are in Alberta, so you're not alone. Spanning generations, acknowledgement of the land is a traditional custom of Indigenous peoples when welcoming outsiders onto their land and into their homes. To build respectful relationships, acknowledgement and land is an important part of reconciliation. It's been a hard month for us. We're going into the 21st with strong voices and collective journeys, and I know together that we're going to have an incredible year of understanding, I think. So I'm excited to share this journey with you, and not only give our people a voice, but give those that we love and care for with disabilities a voice as well. So if you haven't been here before, we have this video, but I'm not going to share it. I'm just going to go a Coles Notes about it because it is quite long, and not long enough, but you'll get it in your notes. But I just want to let you know that Gateway's been around since 1975. So they're addressing inclusion and marginalized experience with people with disabilities in Alberta. It was driven by a group of parents of children with disabilities in the Edmonton region who had direct experience with systematic barriers to education, employment, and community access. So I can go on and read the notes for this, but as those that know me know, I hate reading off notes. So I'm going to tell you this. A bunch of people got together because they wanted systematic change. And if it wasn't for the change and the collective partnerships and vision that these parents had, those of our children wouldn't be in classrooms today. They would be in segregated areas. And so how amazing is it when everybody's working together for one collective action? And that's where I see our voices get strong, and that's where I see our vision gets different. So the more we challenge something and the more we create solutions to some of the issues, something really beautiful can come of it. So I have a son with autism. He's 7 years old. He has a complex diagnosis. It seems like every year we get a new one. And what I found was that I had to become an advocate every single day. And so I learn and I identify gaps, and together with this organization and with the Métis Nation, we're going to help fill those gaps for you. And so that's why we're here, and that's where Gateway was founded on. So something beautiful to remind ourselves, every single one of us is included in the Canadian Charter of Rights. Every single one of us. A strong reminder to us when we're accessing or looking for supports. We're not to be discriminated. It doesn't matter where you come from or what your education level is or what you do for work or whichever. If you're applying for access for your loved one, they have rights and you have every right to advocate for them. So I just wanted to remind you that. I think it's important that we do that. Community action. So who is advocating for your loved one with a disability? So this is just a general talk, but I want to know if anybody here, by thumbs up or hands up, did you know that there was a Council of Canadians with Disabilities? No. Okay. All right. That council is a national human rights organization of people with disabilities looking for an inclusive and accessible Canada. Their mission is a social justice organization that champions the voices of people with disabilities, advocating an inclusive and accessible Canada where people with disabilities have full realization of their human rights as described in the UN Convention and the rights of people with disabilities. The reason why I want to bring this up and talk about it today is because you're not alone, and there are people that are continuously advocating for a better society and a more inclusive society. So when you are ready to, and you'll get your notes after, but looking it up and seeing what your rights are and knowing that there's a group that will champion you on a national level aside from this, it's really an amazing thing to have it in your back pocket, because this is a hard journey. And we've been through workshops 1 and 2. We know what that journey's been. And this one isn't going to be any easier. So today we're having tough conversations. A tough conversation is when the needs or wants, opinions or perceptions of the involved parties are different, with their feelings and emotions running really strong. The reason behind such strong feelings and emotions is that they have a lot at stake. In the next few slides, we're going to talk about the next steps. The steps which I call the peace of mind step. They're meant to help you navigate through the situations and seek out resources you may not even know existed. We just saw one of them. We hope to provide you with the next how-to and what to do in situations that may or come up in the future. So here's this lovely little chart that I made. It's important for us to remember who we're serving and what is their best interest. We have to remember, as we talked about in the visioning in the last workshop, that it's about them. It's not about what we want for them, it's about them. So these are all the things we need to address and create the plan for. Do you have guardianship? Do you have an 18-year-old? Does anybody here have an 18-year-old without guardianship right now? Going to be 18? An adult that doesn't have guardianship but is caring for somebody. Okay. What is trusteeship? How do you know how to access supports in your area and what's available for those with disabilities? What happens when a caregiver can no longer care for someone else? A community action plan and first responders and what's going on. So let's get into guardianship. So let's look at the following and ask yourself, is guardianship necessary? Can the adult make responsible decisions? Is the adult able to care for oneself? Is the adult at risk of being taken advantage of if there is no guardian? Would a less restrictive decision-making alternative be more suitable? Supported decision-making or co-decision-making are examples. So guardianship does not apply to financial issues. Guardianship info and referring info regarding decision-making, co-decision-making to a guardianship is going to be sent to you. So I ask you, the loved one that you're with, so I look at my son. Do I think that he can live on his own? I mean, he's only 7 right now. But do I think he's going to be able to get there? I think he's going to need supportive help. In all fairness, I'm his only parent. I have sole custody of my son. I don't have any family members that are here in Edmonton any longer. And I would have to consider what's going to happen. If he turns 18, can I trust that he can make these decisions on his own? I know that we sent out the chat list or the chat check. Erin, Kate, we sent that out, right? The chat checklist?
Yep, we did last time.
Awesome. So that checklist is an amazing checklist because what that does is it allows you to go through and see if this is necessary. Independence can include formal, co-decision making, and there is no legal binding documentation. The individual is independent. Co-decision can focus on any area except financial, and it is approved through the courts. So it has to be approved for the courts. A capacity assessment has to be completed by a professional and submitted with an application. The assessment cannot be more than 6 months old at the time of the application. And sometimes these applications can cost you anywhere from $500 to $1,200. It can be subsidized for the government of Alberta in cases of financial hardship through the primary care network, from my understanding. The individual has to agree along with the co-decision maker. So guardianship means the individual has no legal right to making decisions. This can be reversed through the courts, and I've met some self-advocates that actually went to court to advocate for themselves to become their own guardian again. It's an incredible thing, but I think what that just says is that we're not including our loved ones in on that process and on that vision and in that goal. So in the end, courts will review anyone who has a close relationship with the individual before making the judgment. That includes absent parents or caregivers. Do we have any questions about guardianship before I move on? Kate will let me know.
Sure, I don't see anything at this point.
Awesome. There are different areas, and I'll send that in the notes, but like occupational therapists can do or can meet the requirements for doing the designated assessments and such. And at Gateway, we can help you through that support. So, trusteeship. Trustee makes decisions related to finances. Example, the guardian chooses where the representative adult will live. The trustee arranges to pay the rent and care costs. The trustee is appointed by the court to make financial decisions for someone who does not have capacity. Therefore, that's why the capacity assessment's done. And keep in mind, the trustee and the guardian cannot be the same person unless it's changed. But I haven't met one person yet that has the same. So prior to the capacity assessment, a doctor must give an adult a medical exam to make sure their decision-making ability isn't being affected by a medical condition that is temporary, reversible. It's required though. It's done only if there's legitimate reasons to believe the adult doesn't have ability to make their own decisions. So a healthcare professional such as your physician, psychologist, can be your capacity assessor. In some cases, some nurses and psychiatric nurses, social workers, or OTs can be as well. There's a lot to think about in your family. Our family support team can help you, and so can the M&A. They can connect you with people who hold the same values that you do and place to provide you with a peace of mind. You're not alone in this, and there are many, many, many families that have gone through this journey. And we have in a sense, we have knowledge keepers in our area that can walk you through the process and talk about what that feeling was like, what the fears are. Because I think we fear more of the unknown than what's actually there. It's a process. We've been doing the process with our young ones, if they had an early diagnosis, for their entire lives. This is just the same process as you would have to basically apply for FSCD. You have to go through the paperwork. You have to go through the journey. You have to say, yes, this is my child. In some cases, I'm even hearing that they are requesting a DNA. So, it's a really difficult process. But what we talked about before is keeping all of your records, keeping all of your assessments, keeping all of these things together in one place, so that this part is just a matter of filling out the paperwork and providing the documentation.
We just had a comment in the chat from Joanne saying guardian and trustee can be the same person.
Well, Joanne, I think that's in very rare cases, to be honest with you. And there has to be, it's a complex thing. Technically, they're not supposed to be the same person for various reasons, because if somebody's in guardian care, and then also there's, my family support team can explain it better, but there are reasons for protection wise for the individual with respect to trustee and guardianship. Do you have trustee and guardianship together? Would you like to share that process?
What I want to share is I was requested to be both. I was legal guardian to an elderly, physically and cognitively disabled uncle. I refused the trusteeship because I wanted the accountability. I liked the accountability for myself. I also know a man who had schizophrenia, and his sister had guardianship and trusteeship, and she abused it, and she used his money for her own personal self. So I know that there is reason why, but unless they've changed it recently, they push for you to be trustee.
Well,
that was my experience. And I've gone through the whole spiel of applying. There are people that can help you apply as well. We didn't pay for it because my uncle didn't have the funding for it. But I know that there are people that are both.
There are. Thanks for sharing, Joanne. So because there is, it's not to say everybody would abuse the aspect of trusteeship and guardianship, but they typically do not like individuals being both. There's an appointed trustee or an appointed guardian, but they typically don't have full control over that, specifically because of that case, or there were many cases like that one that you mentioned.
And they didn't audit his sister, so she got away with it. And as an adult, he went and got his liberation, got his own guardianship back. It was a very long process. He had to pay for a lawyer, and he had to put a caveat on their property to try to get some of the funds back his father had left him. He has not got that yet. He has never got paid back what she owes him.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a good rule to not have the both, but I was pressured to be that. And once someone dies, the guardian's office expects you to do all the estate from death on.
Well, the process that we go through is completely different. And we work with a few individuals that take care of both, and brokers, that is. And I know that probably in 17, 18 cases that we deal with directly, they're actually told not to. And so there's a appointed ship and stuff, but thanks for sharing that, because that's information that I'm going to take back to my team, and we're going to have some discussion around it, because if they're, and I'll take it to a side note, but if they're doing that, then we have to be more stronger advocates for our families and those that are vulnerable for that. So thank you. I will move on. So urban and rural areas have different levels of supports. Example, 211 is an easy number. It's 3-digit non-emergency number that connects Albertans to a full range of community, government, social, and health services. So did you guys know that 211 was actually a whole Alberta number? So they will connect you to areas where you're at. So if you live in a small town, they will connect you to the FCSS program that's closest to you, or an FSCD program or PDD. And then the great thing is when you're looking for like support through guardianship, trusteeship, transition planning, whatever it might be, our office is Alberta wide in a sense. We do most of our stuff on Zoom, so we can help you as well. HealthLink is Alberta wide and can be accessed by calling 811. I want to make a joke about it, but I just want to say, every time I call 811, we end up being told that we have either 2 hours, 4 hours, or 8 hours to head to emergency. But it's there for you, and it is across Alberta. For our rural Alberta, they have supports through FCSS, which is Family and Community Support Services of Alberta. As of January 1st, 2020, there are 315 municipalities and Métis settlements participating in FCSS, organized up to 205 local programs. They administer and deliver programs in single municipality or multiple municipality programs. There are 35 of those, and they've included those I've included those locations for you in the handouts for today's sessions. So if you want access just to see where they are, you can do that. So if you know somebody who's in a rural area that doesn't have access or supports, or you're one of those people, please connect with them. Because if they can't provide you with the information, we can, and vice versa. And that we're always continuously learning, and these types of things are continuously being updated. And with new government funding or government funding that might be cut off or whatever, we all work together to ensure that you have resources for your loved one in your areas. And if you don't, we get to advocate for that.
Katie, sorry to interrupt. Darren had a question regarding power of attorney. Is that different? I am a power of attorney for my mother and trustee in the eyes of the CRA. Should I apply for full trustee?
If you haven't gone to court to apply for full trustee, like if you haven't done that, we can connect you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a couple of brokers' numbers in your handouts. That's why, I wanted to wait, because there's always questions that come up on these topics. So can you ask that individual, whether privately or openly, if they've gone to court for that process, or if they've just been appointed by CRA?
Hi there. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hi. No, so I haven't gone to court. My mom is fully supportive of this. She does have a cognitive disability.
Okay.
So she is supportive of all decisions and trusts me to manage her finances and whatnot. So I did file paperwork with CRA, and CRA does send me all the paperwork. Same with Service Canada for my mom's revenues. But nothing in the eyes of the government officially, just individual agencies.
So what happens when it comes to, I'm going to give a number, Darren, in the notes, and I'm not a specialist in that area, but something to, in relation to, if you didn't have it appointed by the courts, you would have issues with it later on. So let me just provide those phone numbers, and you can choose to contact one of them and get some advice from them, but they're going to be amazing in that support aspect in helping you. Okay.
Great.
So I'm just going to make that. We have, sorry, I'm just making a note for that. So thanks for raising that, Darren. I think there's legal wise, like for instance, I support a 20-year-old with Asperger's as well. And we went through the checklist a year and a half ago, and he was ready to move to Vancouver and join film school. And yet he didn't know how to open a bank account or how to get a job. So, but without the court appointed guardianship or trusteeship, we couldn't have stopped him if he wanted to. So it's really important to take these necessary steps. I'm also going to include a video in the handouts that talk about it and give you like a close notes of it, of one of the individuals I'll be giving the phone number with. So that will be a big help for those that want to dive a little bit deeper into it. And then if that doesn't answer the questions for you, you'll have the phone number there to do that, okay? Awesome. So, more resources. This is going to be a touchy subject, but even I have to take a look at it. Resources are important for every family. We love sharing great books from parents who've been there. So you ever wonder what will happen to your child when you're gone? Has the thought of your child's future kept you awake at night? I know mine has. Have you fought with your worry, thinking about your child's employment, medical evaluations, and stuff after you've passed away? If you've answered yes to any of these questions, this is a resource that we have at our office, and we're always willing to lend it out, or you can order it. We don't push things, but every parent group that I'm a part of and that has talked about it has really said that this book has been amazing for them. I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't read it yet. He's 7, but I'm going for an ECG tomorrow. I might have to pick up that book. I'm just kidding, but I'm just like, you know, it's some things that we really, really have to pay attention to. It doesn't matter where we're at in our life, anything could happen. And if you're in my situation where you're their only person, it's a reality that we have to take a look at. So there was a report that identified the common gaps where parents did not plan. Families don't even have the basics planned, like an appointed guardian or a will. So other areas include, when we take a look at what happens later on, is housing. And there are waiting lists. Some housing complexes have up to 5 years of a waiting list. We have to know that today there's lack of staff. I don't know anybody here if you have respite, but I'm going to tell you, since the beginning of COVID, we went without respite for 7 months, I think it was. And it was probably one of the hardest 7 months we ever had. I need it. And many other people do for medical reasons and various reasons of just mental health. But there is no staff right now. We're sharing our respite and our community aid support. And we're begging for people, but it depends on how many hours you get and what the support looks like and what your contract is. So it's hard to find it. So these are things that we have to think about, because when we're gone, who's going to be that advocate for our families and our loved ones? And there's a lack of awareness in the challenges facing aging families. So, like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm 45 on the 21st, don't forget. No, I'm kidding. But I'm, but I look at everything that's going on, and I have a daughter who's 24, I have a son who's 20, and I have my 7-year-old. So, when I look at what that plan is going to be, if I were to talk to them right now and go, are you ready to do this? Their answer is going to be no. They can't take it on. They're both in university. One's getting their master's. The other one's just going into his 3rd year. And we as parents, we typically give a thought as to who, what, when, where, and why. So I'm going to remind you. I'm going to talk about it today. We have to have this very real conversation. And if you wanted to have this conversation after we go through the process, I'm going to be here. But most families get to see their children become adults. They're completely independent in all aspects of life. And in many cases, the children end up caring for their aging parents because this is the normal aging process. But for families with a dependent adult living with a disability, the support and care dynamic is inverted. Aging parents often continue to provide support for their adult with a disability well into their retirement years. Not only is this a challenge to be a lifelong caregiver and advocate, but parents are also living with this agonizing question is, again, what happens when I'm gone? Many don't want to solely rely on relatives or other surviving children. They have no idea what is needed or where to start. So yeah, it is a tough conversation. Have you planned for it? Thumbs up if you planned for your loved one that has a disability. Now it's the time. It's to create a network of support. Remember, we talked about community values and community support. It's time to do that now and investigate government and financial supports available, and to seek out those who align with your values for sustainable care in the future. I know we talked about it before in our workshops, but creating that detailed plan. And this is how that all comes together now. These plans would include normal processes that we have already set up, but also their whole diagnosis information, their medical needs, their medications, their history, financial and housing hopes or wishes. So we take a look at it, and if I say, what if I didn't plan for my son? He'd go into care. Do I want him to be in care? No. Do I want him to think that he can go to university and do all these amazing things? Yeah. But does anybody else know that? No. I mean, they know that, but anybody caring for him? No. So I need to make sure that I myself even plan. I myself take it upon myself to make sure that if something were to happen to me, all of the goals and all of the things that I've made true for him will come, because he deserves that. But if I don't plan for it and he can't advocate for himself, who's going to do it? So it's something we need to think about. And I don't want it to be so deep, but I do want us to be prepared, and we can help you be prepared. Sure. I don't know how you're just trying to make me laugh because it's such a deep topic, but I really love the pig ears and the nose. It's great. So the Self-Advocacy Federation, has anybody heard about them? Thumbs up? Nobody. Well, it's an organization comprised of people with disabilities and their allies who get together to discuss the issues facing people with disabilities. It's an organization that gives them a voice. They're the leaders of today and tomorrow. They're proud to be who they are. They're an organization that helps people understand their rights and show them how to stand up for themselves. They speak up for others and support each other. They solve problems. They get together and talk about and learn from each other, as well as guest speakers from organizations like PDD. They help out in the community by volunteering. They work at jobs. They partner with groups in the community as well. They choose their own allies. They take a chance and can educate people with disabilities. So do you want to hear a great thing about this organization? Aside from the video that we're going to watch, because I think I want you to hear from them on who they are, but the Indigenous Canada course. So being the Indigenous Relations Manager, 2 individuals came to me and said, we want to take that course, but we're scared to take it alone. And I said, let's do some collective learning. Let's do it together. So what was going to be together a collective learning of 3 is now at 30. So they're asking and taking upon themselves and taking on learning. And I just love the passion this group has. And I'm excited to share with you about who they are. So I can talk about them, but I thought I'm going to show you this video and let them tell you a little bit about who they are and what their goals and aspirations are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it, but I see that there's comments. So before I play it, are there anything, Kate, that I should know before I move forward?
No, it just looks like we have a link in the chat to the website if anyone is looking for that.
Sweet. All right, let's go. Thumbs up if you can hear it when it starts.
Specifically, this membership is that we all have a story to tell, but sometimes stories are placed upon us. For many with disabilities, other people decide our stories for us, or we get stuck in the same stories about ourselves. So other people tell stories for us because of our bodies or our minds or our lives, or we tell ourselves the same stories. We create these scripts for safety and for clarity, and sometimes to receive care. So we exist in a system that we keep telling the same story because we have to get money, to get places to live, to get all kinds of things. So these are the stories we tell about ourselves, or people tell about us. For someone who experiences disability, storytelling in this multidisciplinary way, which is the art world's fancy way to say using different materials. So sometimes we used oil pastels, sometimes we used our bodies, sometimes we used our voices. With lots of different kinds of art, we allow different kinds of stories to be told. And it asks ways to share different kinds of views to be formed. It allows a fun way to share, and that sharing creates and builds community. You were allowed to create stories in different ways than you used to. Some people use their voices, other people use their bodies. You were allowed to paint and draw, to create fun, to create new stories and new possibilities for yourselves and for your community. So from this sharing, we learn about and from each other. One day we shared about mapping, and we figured out where we all lived and placed it on Jesse's really great map of the city. And then we also talked about places we can go. So if you don't drive, you don't go to South Edmonton Common ever. Why would you go there? So your city changes depending on how you actually get yourself around and what places are unsafe and what places do we love. There was a lot of going to swimming pools and libraries and places that are free to go to that we can all build community. This came up as a huge resource as well, to have Self-Advocacy's meeting office on Jasper Ave. We can all congregate through public transit, through DATS, through taxi, to get together in a room where we all felt safe that we could share. And then we also explored the imaginary. So what are your best futures? If you were a superhero, what kind of superhero would you be? What kind of food do you like to eat? All these small things that become really big in the stories that we share. When we have labels like disability, no one asks what's our favorite food or how do you move around the city. Everything becomes politicized. So we really got to know on some basic details such as our day in a life. I found out that so many of you have cats or drink coffee or eat cereal in the morning, and these small humanizing things that get us beyond our disability labels. The other thing it also allows us to do as a group of people is decide what we share and what we don't share. So getting beyond this label that's placed upon us, we don't have to say what our medical diagnoses are to have a story. Instead, you can tell the story of your superhero, or you can tell the story of what you ate for breakfast, or how you got to the meeting. And the ability to have that story and share that imagination moves you beyond just being a label. It moves you into the story that you want to tell the world. And this can be used as a self-advocacy tool. So you become so much more than what people have told you you are. What I tell you you are, you get to decide and be the author of your own story. And I got the pleasure of spending so many months with you figuring that out. And some of you liked the exercises I threw at you in an experimental way, and some of you didn't. And that's okay too. That's part of deciding how you want to express yourself. With that, I'm going to show you the film because that matters how your story is read to the world.
You have been with the SAF pretty much since before it was SAF, right?
Yes, since 2006.
I need to know from Wade just how he feels about all these photos.
God, really happy on how far we've come over 13 years.
There we go.
Yes, that's from the rally in Cowtown.
So do these memories make you happy?
Yes. Every day you had to go out to work again. You didn't have any choices.
Did you get paid? No.
Got a job in Rocky, and that's where I said I've had it. I'm out of here. Hitchhiked to St. Albert, living with my brother Dave. You had to take them back and forth to work before they got the buses there. At that point in time, I had a job with my brother-in-law. He had his own printing outfit, and he sold his print shop. And unfortunately, I was out of a job.
Were you in the news?
Yeah. I drive on my bike and had a piece of wood across the handlebars. There was a stop sign or a sign on the road, piece of board, hit the sign, and I went ass over tea kettle.
And that made it into the news.
Yeah, I made it on the front page of the Gazette.
Oh, wow.
And then I worked for the St. Albert Gazette for the next number of years. Deliver gazettes door to door.
Tell me about how you started dancing.
I started about, I was a very little kid a long time ago. I think dance is very important. It makes me feel more confident. It's nice to enjoy that. I have some fun.
How does it help you speak?
I think foreign language, it does make sense. Dancing makes you doing something for yourself.
How I managed to get married under guardianship. Well, my guardian was my mom, and she was all well for me marrying my husband, Danny. But then when we did the whole wedding process, turned into be a difficult situation. We could only invite people that could drive opposed to friends that have disability. My stepdad, he couldn't go because of his disability.
How long have you two been together now?
2.5 years. We're very open and honest with each other. We never go to bed angry. We never lie to each other. We're pretty much like an open book. And Danny's is the all-time funny character. You never know what he's gonna do. So I love being married to him.
I know how exciting it's been for you, especially over the last little while, about you being able to move.
Yeah.
Where is it that you're going to be moving to?
St. Albert. There's a city hall in St. Albert. I would like to work there. And the house is nice. I'm going to be helping do chores there.
What kind of chores are you excited about doing?
Sweeping, mopping, cleaning the house, dishes, do my laundry.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. To present your complementary restraints, I find. You talk way better than I do.
And it works out really well. He used to go, well, you date me for my car. I'm like, no, I date you for your feet.
Yeah. We could share both have disability. I know whichever situation that puts us even closer together.
Now I understand him better than his parents do.
But then we both understand that one of us can provide
balance for the other.
Recently, I had gotten involved with a girl from England. We actually met on Twitter. One thing kind of led to another, and yeah, then he had applied for a 2-year visa to come to Canada. We did it very methodically in terms of making sure that, because both of us had been in prior relationships that were not the best, and so we didn't want that same disaster to happen. She's more accommodating and more accepting than anybody I've ever met. There are those people out there that say, I don't care that you have a disability. I love you for who you are, and that's all I care about.
It all starts.
I always say it will love at first tweet.
Right.
I think it's important for us to remember that they are their own individuals. So they speak up, they choose their allies, they create a chance to talk and learn together. They have a community. I think they're absolutely amazing. And I hope that this video was eye-opening to you, to know that there is a community out there that's safe for them, and that we should encourage them to be a part of, whether it's the SAF or any other organization that aligns with their values, but to give them a voice, to let them know. And if you want to become a member, I'll put that information in your handouts as well. This, not like the other ones, this one is somewhat more structured to what do you want? And so we'll have a conversation about that in a bit. But this allows me to cater it to ensure that you're getting everything that you need and your loved one has the support that they're going to require. So we're going to talk about self-disclosure and why. So someone may want assistance or support to understand rights and responsibilities. They may want to give explanation for differences, to alleviate stress related to fitting in, and to raise awareness and build support. I can't take you seriously with your pig face on there. I keep laughing, I'm so sorry, but it's good. It's distracting, but thank you for this. I love it. Disclosure to the community is to educate and build awareness about the disability. So school, there's funding and extra supports for you. Neighborhood, because we want to keep each other safe. And when we know better, we do better. I think I told the story of my son saying hi to absolutely everybody in the neighborhood. That was his thing. He had to say hi to he still has to say hi to everybody. And then the one thing that Mateo does every single day after school is he goes and tells every single one of his classmates he was so happy to see them today. I don't know why, but that's his thing. He loves to do it. And I said to him, I shouldn't say I don't know why. I know why. So I asked him, I said, why do you have to do that? He goes, well, somebody does. And that was just a very matter-of-fact answer. And I think, wow, I don't even do that I don't know how many of us go to work and make sure that we say good morning to every single person that we see or work with, or goodbye to every single person. We just we're in our world and we pack up our things and sometimes we just go. So I think it's a beautiful thing. First responders. We are doing a lot of work with EPS right now. And there's a program called Connect to Protect, which is a program where you can register your loved one at. But firefighters and first responders, if there was ever a phone call that came in and they didn't know that the individual had cerebral palsy, they would assume maybe that they were intoxicated. That's the reality of it. I sit on two sides of the fence. I have a brother and an uncle who are RCMP officers. And then I have a loved one with a disability that sometimes can make him look like he's going to hurt somebody because he's having a meltdown. So I see my brother and my uncle going to a residence and not knowing what they're walking into. And I know the fears and the things that go through their mind and what happens. But I also see the other side where without the knowledge of knowing what they're walking into, my loved one can get really hurt. So it's important to ensure and to disclose to our community that this individual, or even your neighbors, we have families that don't even take their children outside or their adult children outside. But what if you weren't home and that individual was home and there was a fire and they didn't have mobility? It's important. It's really important for us to share with our neighborhood and our first responders and those in our community and our faith communities. They can help introduce the disability to your community. Advocate for them to do that. Advocate for your nation to do that. Advocate for anybody around that is part of your collective so that they normalize disability. I hate the word normal. I don't even know if I'm normal or neurotypical or whatever it might be, but make it present. Visit frequently visited places. So grocery stores, movie theaters, and libraries. My son's 7, he's never been to a movie because I think the noise would distract him. I don't even know if we could sit through the first 5 minutes. But at the grocery store, I'll tell you a story about Safeway. My son loved the little carts, you know, the little tiny people ones where you could walk around. And I'm not even gonna lie, I hated taking him grocery shopping anywhere else unless they had these carts, because to get milk, bread, and bananas would take us 2 hours. It's not easy. So Safeway had these tiny little carts that he loved. And if he was in control of something, he would be in control of taking whatever we needed and putting it in a cart, and that was the focus because he was in control of it. So we went there and all of the carts were broken. The wheels kept spinning and stuff. So my son literally was walking in circles, and it took us 2 hours that day. And what I could have just done is never taken them into that store again. It would be easier, right? Because we're all in a rush and we don't have stuff to do. But I called the store and I talked to the manager, and he said, well, good news is we had a young guy who saw what happened and he fixed all the wheels on the carts. And I cried because they recognized that this is something that my son needed. And then I was frustrated with myself. Well, why didn't I ask earlier? And I was frustrated with myself as if I had just been open and talked about them and whatever. So guess what Safeway has now? Sensory days. They turn the music down, the lights are lower, and it's quieter. It's for kids like and adults that need that. People that suffer from migraines. It's a good time to shop. And employers. So we had an employee who was like one of the, because we do, if you've been in the other workshops, you know that we have an employment aspect and job coaching and all these different things. So anyways, this employee, his feet were sore. And I don't know if I've told the story. I always tell stories with these things, so I want people to relate. But his feet were so sore, and his employer was getting really frustrated with why he wasn't standing there doing his job. Maybe he's not interested. Maybe it just isn't the right fit for him, because it's hard. It's hard to get a job, let alone hard to get for somebody with a disability. And so the conversation came up, and somebody from our amazing group had the know-how to say, what is going on? And he said, my feet hurt. Well, guess you got new shoes. And then he got a new mat to stand on because he's like a picker or something. There he had to do something where he had to stand in one area. Guess who got employee of the month like 3 months in a row? It was just a matter of making it, disclosing what was happening so that his whole narrative, everything can change to work with him. I know it's a personal choice, but sometimes we feel like we're protecting our loved ones from everyone due to our own personal fears. When our loved one becomes visible, the disability doesn't become invisible, but it allows inclusivity. So again, as SAF says, nothing about us without us. We have to make sure that we include them every single day. I want you to know that if there's any questions that you have, to always reach out and ask for support and ask us how we can help. So there's time for discussion. There's time to talk about what you're looking for. After these last 3 series, is there something that you need? Is there something we've missed? Is there something you just wanna share? I'm here, and this is our last go. Maybe until fall, I'm not too sure. But I want to thank you guys for coming on this journey. And I hope that the information that you've gotten is relevant. And I hope that you become these amazing advocates for those wonderful people that you're caring for. And I hope you know that you have a voice, and so do they. So thank you. Any questions? Are there any questions? Or no? Or does anybody want to say anything?
Katie, I don't see any questions at this time, but I think with
Oh, I see a hand up.
Yes.
Sorry?
Sorry, I interrupted you. I had a hand up, but please do.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Zoom things. It just went weird for a sec. Yeah, I was only able to join this last third session. I was really eager about the first two, but I just couldn't make them. And I was wondering if there are recordings available or anything of that sort.
We do have recordings of these events available. They are up on our website, as well as I can send them out via email through after this event. So you will have access to those afterwards.
We do have a question in the chat. Darren has a couple related to adult support, so we can go ahead and unmute you, Darren.
Thanks, I appreciate it. So yeah, I didn't attend the first two sessions, and I just got the third invite in my email, so I apologize if this was covered in the prior ones. So my challenge, and I have to give a little bit of backstory here. My mom suffered a traumatic brain injury in 2010, and then about 3 years ago, my dad passed away from a heart attack, and I've had to become the primary caregiver for my mom. I moved her out here from Winnipeg, and I'm in Calgary, and I'm the only person that she has. I'm struggling from a mental health standpoint. I've had emotional breakdowns a couple of times. Thankfully, my wife has been very supportive from that. My mom is able to take care of herself from a day-to-day standpoint, but not when it comes to cooking, cleaning, even hygiene pieces. I'm not getting support from our family doctor other than to prescribe her medications, which helps with her anxiety and her mood fluctuations, but reaching to Alberta Health Services and HealthLink, I'm getting no support there. She was in an assisted living facility, but then she hit a bout of depression because my mom is very young. She's only 61 years old, and everyone there was 15 years her senior. And she went through a really bad bout of depression, and I had to move her into my condo where she lives on her own. But I don't know where else to turn for other resources for myself, for mental health and getting help there. And also for my mom, you know, being alone and only having me to be her only social person. She needs more social outlets as well. And it's hard for her to make friends because of this. I do have, thankfully, I do have home care for her twice a week, which gives me some respite from that, but also helps with her hygiene. And I absolutely am respecting her privacy. The home care worker does help her with her hygiene, her bathing, those kind of things. As her son, being a male son, I want to respect that she has that privacy and that I don't ever overstep that. So, and I apologize if this was covered in the first two sessions, but what other resources and opportunities are there for me to reach out to get additional help?
Well, we can send you, just, I didn't catch it, Darren, has she qualified for PDD?
What is that, sorry?
Persons with developmental disabilities.
The only thing we have is government disability, so they are helping financially from that regard. But there's no other avenues that I've explored when it comes to that. Also, and not add icing on the cake, I guess. Both her and I have ADHD, so that also helps being a little neurodiverse with all of this as well.
No, and I get it. There's a few really cool things that that there's going to be support for. We have a family support center, so we can help you along with what's going on, the different programming that M&A has. So I want to take a moment and, thank you for sharing that, but I do want you to know that you're not alone, and that there is support out there, especially for situations like this. So in the handout that you'll get, I'd like you to connect with me if you can. My information will be on there, and we can walk you through the family support aspect to get you and your mom and your family in a place where you can breathe. That's what we do. So when I look at and when I hear what you're going through, have you, and it's a conversation, I don't know that we should talk about it over the recording because they're so personal, but I'd like to connect. I'm going to put my email or their email address in here, but just so you have it. Do you want me to type it in there, Kate?
Do you want your email address in there? I can put it in there.
Sure, just for these tougher ones that require family support, like crisis support right away, we can do that. So my email is going to be in there. But Darren, I'd like to talk to you about medication. I'd like to talk to you about a family support plan, a vision for that. And we have all of these great tools that we can provide you with. So, and I can talk about my own experience with that. So I'd love to connect with you.
Thank you. That's most appreciated.
Yeah, no. And I want to talk a little bit about ADHD. How many people are dealing with somebody on here that have ADHD or has ADHD? Okay. My son also has ADHD. And so I wanted to talk about this because I'm really proud of it. Long story short, Alberta Benefits doesn't cover Intuitive, which is a drug that my son is on. And I had to go through this crazy process through FSCD and Alberta Health, and I don't like it. So I went straight to the source, which was the pharmaceutical company called Takeda. And Takeda Lodge is in Jasper, where I wish I was right now. But Takeda is the pharmaceutical rep for Intuitive. Intuitive helps with ADHD. It's a slow release, which is a beautiful thing. And it's not covered, and it's expensive. So over a year, I've been advocating and working with them. And now that there's a compassion program. So here's the good news. If you are on the drug or know somebody who wants the drug, or you haven't taken it because of the cost, you can go to your prescribing doctor right now and get the compassion card. That'll give you 28 days of free medication. I think it's 1, 2, 3, and 5 milligrams up to, and it's for children or adults. And the only reason why I'm saying this is because it's saving me a ton of money. So you get the card, you give it to the pharmaceutical company, you register your name and everything, because let's get real. We don't get it. M&A doesn't have status cards. You're not included in benefits and such. And if you don't have benefits, that drug can cost you anywhere from $140 a month to $260. And it's not covered unless you get a miracle and somebody says, here's it for free. So I'm telling you, here's 28 days for free right now. When you go to your prescribing doctor, it doesn't matter if you're already on it or not. And then with that card, depending on where you're at financially, you can fill out some paperwork with them. You can get the drug, I think it's for sure a year at no cost. It's an amazing opportunity, okay? So if you're on the drug, that's one of the things that I challenged, and I won. No, I'm kidding. But the more people that access the program, the quicker we can get it on Alberta benefits list. And that's a whole other thing. But I'm a natural advocate. So this is something that was near and dear to me. And it came true on May 13th, I think it was. So I'm really proud of that. So there's that. If you're always, wherever barrier you have, there's an avenue to advocate for yourselves, and there's an avenue to advocate for the people that you love. So I would say to you, if you're up against something right now, reach out. reach out and ask, and we'll find ways to navigate the system together.
Thanks, Katie. And we also have another question. Shafir, you can unmute yourself. We've given you the option to unmute yourself, being that we're a small group. And also wanted to thank Darren for sharing. So I appreciate that. And go ahead, Shafir.
Okay, great, thanks. This one is also a bit more of a specific question. But I am a youth worker, and I'm supporting one young woman who is 20 years old. And it's really quite frustrating, but she's been for 2 years now been discussing and saying that one of her staff members from her PDD support organization has been abusing her, like calling her names, like making fake reports and documentations, even like locking her in her room, and really just behaviors that are not acceptable in any way, shape, or form. And other staff have also witnessed these behaviors. And this young person has really advocated for themselves quite a bit for so long, to like all their professional supports, like their school, like their their guardian, their trustee, sorry, not trustee, they receive funding through PDD as well, so they're PDD worker, and like everyone. But unfortunately, like nothing has happened. The agency did have several discussions with this youth, and they did end up, like, they fired this person just because they didn't show up for so many shifts, not because of the abuse. They are working now at another social services agency. But sort of, I guess, I'm wondering, about those avenues for support. Like, we reached out to a few different organizations already, like the John Humphrey Center for Peace and Human Rights, or for the Office of the Advocate for Persons with Disabilities. And unfortunately, well, these organizations are helping us in some way. I think the piece around, like, unfortunately, none of these professionals have actually done anything meaningful to make this young person feel heard and understood, and to say, like, oh, like, we recognize that this was abuse. And I guess I'm just trying to solutions find for them and help them navigate. But there's really, like, I feel like I've exhausted everything, and I'm not really sure where to go from here.
So we actually put on a course for FMS families called Abuse Prevention and Response Protocol. And what I can do is connect you with an individual who puts on that support, and they can walk you through those avenues. The unfortunate thing is this is common. So, but the fortunate thing is once you start advocating and getting a little bit louder and bringing these things, once you went to Tony's office, Tony Flores, what do you feel that the support that you received was inadequate, or didn't?
Sorry, the advocate, right? Yeah. Well, what happened is the guardian refused to provide consent for the youth to access the advocate. They said, oh, they already have plenty of advocates in the room, so another isn't needed. So they refused, and on that basis, guardianship changed so that this youth has pretty much almost all decision-making power, except for when except for like money and like the choice of residence.
Yeah.
Oh, and I think the agency that supports them, but the office wasn't comfortable, I think, proceeding. So.
Okay, so there's two groups that I would say also connect with: Radical Inclusion and Self-Advocacy Federation. Mm-hmm. Those two are huge advocates. They're self-advocates, and they will walk you through the processes that they've also gone through. So I think we can connect with me, send me an email. We'll hash this out. I'll connect you with the individual who does do the abuse prevention and response protocol workshop. And then again, I'll connect you to, I'll provide you, I'm gonna ask SAF and Radical Inclusion actually, who's the best person to talk to for this, so you don't have to go through this again and again. I'll set up the narrative and I'll make sure that you get those connections, okay? Just send me an email.
Okay, thank you so much for your assistance and support.
Thanks for making it really colorful for me today. I really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Zoom is, we can make Zoom fun, right? So
yeah, I love it. It's the best. Ever since we added the jigging music and now you with your thing, I think it's just amazing. I love it. We could do this every week if we wanted, but go on. Anybody next?
Thanks, Shafir. Do we have any more questions? We have a question in the chat from, okay, yeah, Radical Inclusion and which other program was mentioned?
So self-advocacy. So what I'll do is I'll actually, in the notes, so this is good. I'm gonna add those. So Kate, I said we're gonna send them tonight, but I'm gonna put together something a little different because this workshop is totally different and I want it geared to those ones. So I'm gonna put in the notes so that everybody here has it at SAF and Radical Inclusion for sure. I sent, I got to speak to Grant McEwen and the new social work students who are going through their program. And I want to say I'm so excited because we have a Métis member who's going through the program who also has ADHD. And he put together this amazing final presentation. I sent it off to Aaron and Kate because I'm like, oh my God, look at what he did. It was incredible and amazing. But what I loved about what I saw was the hope to change the system, the advocacy aspect and avenues that they're taking, and they have no fear. And I just thought to myself, I'm like, this is amazing because typically we just adopt, we go into something and we look at the culture and we just accept it for what it is because why would anybody try to change it? I love the idea of challenging systems. For those of you that know me, I do it often. And it probably doesn't fit. It's not the right fit for everybody, but if something's wrong, something's like systemically wrong, we have to change it. And there are those of us that there are those of us that have our voices and we can just go after it and just love the advocacy aspect. So I would encourage you to take a look out for our youth because they have no fear. And I think it's a beautiful thing. So I don't even know why I went on that, but I was just really proud of him. Anybody else? Okay.
I know we've come to the end of our questions. If anybody else has any, please feel free to unmute yourself or put them in the chat, or if things come up, please feel free to email Katie rather, or myself. I just popped this slide up on the screen to, in case anyone here tonight had any questions specifically with regards to any programs or services within the M&A and to reach out to me. I know a few of you have already, and I just ask for your patience in getting back to you. We've had our all staff conference. We finished our second day and tomorrow is our last day. So we've been a little bit busy with that, but I want you to know that you can reach out to myself as well if you have any specific questions. Yeah, so if there isn't any questions, maybe we will end it for tonight. And thank you, Katie, for taking the time yet again to share your knowledge with us and answer these questions. And thank you to everyone who participated and attended this evening. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to email me. And we will also be sending out an email with some additional resources and a brief evaluation form, and Kate may be even posting the link in the chat now. It's really important, if you can, to fill this out for us so that we're informed with other community information sessions and workshops moving forward, and what we can bring to community. So it would be really great to hear your feedback about the session. If you attended all three, or just tonight's session, that would be great. So please feel free and take the time to do that for us. That would be really appreciated. So thank you. And I hope everybody has a great evening. And I think that's it.
Yay, we did it. I hope if anything, you guys have gained some knowledge and gained an understanding how to access the system. And again, please, the feedback is amazing because it helps us, because I hope that we all have become knowledge keepers through this journey and this process. And with that understanding, I encourage you to help other families. I encourage you to let them know that there is support out there, because nobody's alone. And it's hard when we're not able to like get in groups together. We're not allowed to, not even allowed, but it's scary right now, and it's scary for our elders. But we have this journey of understanding now, and we can make people's lives easier by just sharing the knowledge that you guys have learned over the last 3 workshops. So thank you so much. I mean it. You guys are awesome. Now I want to go put my baby to bed. Who has been eating treats the entire time, and I couldn't even say no because I don't want to yell at them while you guys are on here. So yeah, I appreciate you, and thank you guys so much.
And thanks again for sharing, Katie, tonight. And thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.